Hello, I'm back, and this is my lovely um, review for the great game Ni No Kuni. Now, before I get into it, just a few words of warning. I'm going to try and keep this review as spoiler-free as possible, so when I talk about the story section, I'm just going to generally just go over the general story. I'm not going to get into details. If you want to know more about this game, I'll save the spoiler type talk for the end, and it'll be clearly marked, so no one's going to be like, "He ruined Ni No Kuni for me." Okay, let's get this show on the road. Okay, here's where things get kind of cool. See, the people who basically illustrated, did the artwork, and monster design for this game was Studio Ghibli. Studio Ghibli was created by Hayao Miyazaki, okay? So the guy who did Porco Rosso, and Princess Mononoke, and Howl's Moving Castle, and My Neighbor Totoro, all that good shit, did the illustrations for this film. For this game. So basically, while you're playing this game, if you're an anime fan like me, you feel like you're playing a Hayao Miyazaki anime as well. I mean, when you go to the fairy village in the game, you feel like, I mean, this is something from out of Howl's Moving Castle or My Neighbor Totoro. This is My Neighbor Totoro. So, I mean, it's so whimsical. But like all Studio Ghibli films or animation, there's a subtle dark part to these characters and their illustrations. I mean, it gets a little dark. There's a little bit of, darkness to it, and I mean, it's the illustrations. I mean, this is one of the most gorgeous games I have ever seen before in my life. I mean, it is beautiful. I would say that if you stack this game against some of these next-gen games that people are like, oh, that's totally next-gen, that people claim are next-gen for on the PS4 and Xbox One, if you stack this game against those games, this game could go toe-to-toe with them. You'd be like, this is still a pretty damn good-looking game. And that's awesome to me. I mean, I think that's just awesome. Which leads me to the gameplay, which is mostly centered around the battle system and how the game systems work, which is in the next section. Alright, Ni No Kuni, let's get down to it. First, I'm going to start with story. The storyline stars a young boy named Oliver, who basically lives with his mother, and she gets into an accident trying to save him. And she saves him, but she also gets very sick and dies from her injuries from the accident. And basically, Oliver's despondent. He's completely just destroyed over the fact that his mom died, as anyone could be. Oliver's like 12, 13 years old. He's very young. And this is kind of a heartbreaking thing. He basically his tears wake up this stuffed animal that he's always had with him that his mom gave him, and named Drippy. And basically, Drippy tells him that his mom may be able to be saved if he goes into this alternate world. And when he goes, he discovers that, this alternate world is under is under attack by this dark force, by this dude named the Dark Djinn. And basically, he goes on a quest to basically stop the Dark Djinn in this alternate world. Meanwhile, during this, he meets various companions. He discovers that he can control monsters with his own heart power, recruit them and control them and get them to fight for him. So it has a very Pokemon-esque catch-em-all type thing going on, but it's deeper than Pokemon ever could wish to be. And generally speaking, it's just, the story is very engrossing. But the story wouldn't be nearly as good if it weren't for the graphics, which I'll be talking about in the next section. Okay, now it's time to move on to the next section. And this section is the gameplay. Now, the gameplay of this game is very good. Even though I'm an old school RPG fan and I like to grind in areas, you never really have to grind. And even when you are grinding, you don't really feel like it. You feel like you're accomplishing something. The way they do this in this game is pretty damn unique. Basically, they have a quest system in the game called, like, the Helpful Helpers or something like that. Basically, you do side quests, you get stamps. Once you fill out all the stamps on a card, you get a stamp point, which you can then spend to give yourself an upgrade. So you can spend stamp points to make yourself run faster, to jump, to make it easier to sneak up on enemies and get the first attack in. I mean, it's really a very ingenious system. Even the side quests in the game are geared towards basically getting you to become more powerful, gain new skills and abilities, without it being forcing you to do it. It's very well made. I mean, I've never seen a game as well put together in this regard, in terms of, like, you're grinding, but you're not really grinding. And, you know, it's just, I mean, really, and, you know, a lot of games that have a similar system in terms of quest system and you get rewards, the rewards are kind of crappy. In this game, you actually feel like you're getting good rewards when you use your stamp points. You know, you can make enemies drop better loot, more loot, have a higher chance of dropping loot. I mean, you know, you get new alchemic recipes, so you can make new stuff using alchemy. I mean, the game is just very well made. And it's not just playing a game. Like, there's a book in the game called The Wizard's Manual, The Wizard's Grimoire. And this thing literally is a book in the game. You can literally read it in the game. Read this thing in the actual game. I mean, it is... Woo, boy. Level 5 basically really knew what they were doing when they made this game. And it's not a surprise, because once I get to the overview section, you'll basically see why this didn't really shock me. So, that's the end of the overview. I mean, that's the end of the gameplay. We'll get to the overview next. Okay, here we go. The spoiler section. Now, I warned everyone, so I don't want to hear you ruin it for me. The overall story in this game is pretty heart-wrenching, actually. I mean, you really feel sad for this boy. You feel for Oliver. You feel for all the characters. When one of the characters' parents die, you really feel their anguish. This game is I mean, really, you feel like Final Fantasy is always, you know, Square Enix is always going with this with their Final Fantasy games. They haven't captured it in any of the non-cartridge generations. They came close in 7, but after that, I stopped giving a shit. But Level 5 along with Studio Ghibli have really hit how to tell a story in an RPG and how to make you care about the characters. When Oliver discovers he can't bring his mother back, you really feel his pain. When, you know, these characters discover that things aren't going to go their way, you really feel their pain. When, you know, you see the despair of even the villains, you're like, damn, that is some hard shit to swallow. I mean, you really feel the pain. You really empathize with these characters. I mean, it's a triumph to the graphical people and how they can make these characters emote, and how the gameplay and the script of this game is very well written. If they made a Ni No Kuni anime, I would watch that shit right now. They could make that into a series, and it would be awesome. I'd watch that movie. By Hayao Miyazaki and Studio Ghibli, hands down I'd watch it. So, spoilers, there is post-game content, where you find another alternate version of Oliver, and it's pretty awesome. one of the best alternate versions I've ever seen. It's pretty damn awesome. Now, the downside about the alternate version is that you have to fight him, and he's kind of an asshole. But you discover more about the world. This is a gaming. This is like the second or third gaming world that I've played in an RPG where I really could just get lost in it. Like I beat the game and I've done the post game content and I still just want to fly around on my dragon, just looking at shit, talking to people, leveling up my characters, doing post game quests. I mean, the game is just very well made, and you should get it. Okay, this is the end of this review. You guys have a good day. Okay, here's the overview. Okay, the people who made this game was Level 5, the developer that made it. Level 5 also worked on another little gem on the PS2 that this game and this game on the PS3 and this other game on the PS2 have a lot of similarities. Both of them were made by, the artwork was done by a well-established anime studio, graphical studio. Both of them were done by Level 5. Both of them have a very epic journey feel to them. Like, you literally feel like you're journeying across multiple places in order to save someone dear to you. It's very, very well put together. And what are these put together things? Well, Level 5 made Dragon Quest VIII, which is one of the best RPGs on the PS2, and they made this game, Ni No Kuni, which has a very Dragon Quest VIII vibe to it. The only difference is that Dragon Quest VIII's graphical style was done by Armor Bird Studios, Akira Toriyama's studio. This one was done by Ni No Kuni was done by Studio Ghibli, aka Hayao Miyazaki. So, I mean, there's a lot of jab going on there. Level 5 has basically taken everything they've learned from past games they've done on consoles and put it into this. It has, they took what they learned from Rogue Galaxy and Dark Cloud 1 and 2, and they just really put, and Dragon Quest VIII, they put it into this game, and you can tell because it is tight, it is well made, the sense of progression, the quest system, I mean, it's just a very well made game. So I would say this is a play. If you like RPGs, play this game. If you like animes, play this game. If you are the type of person who doesn't like grinding in an RPG, you'll grind in this game, but it won't feel like a grind because you're always moving forward. So it's a very good game. Which only leaves one section left, the spoiler section, which I'll get to after the break.